like a machine. In the game we're clean, we're so keen. Powers in the sky, chasing that dream. That dream, obelisk tide, we rock the scene. Capturing shrines while taking what's unseen. On the arc, we're kings, we're supreme. Never seen the limits in a way we evergreen.
Time grows, visions will stand. We will go claim the crown.
We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting down. Run and charge and calculate the power we bring. Turn it like a band, they're here to battle sing. We're blazing through the ranks on the move and swing. With might in our heart to take everything. Everything pillars rise as we claim our throne. For victory, we've already grown. On the field we fight, we overthrow the known. Nothing stop us, ain't no way we stay alone.
Time grows, visions will stand. We will go claim the crown.
We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting death.
From the desert outside to the desert outpost, we crave more. With every sweet stride, we will ride. We're opening the door. So here's to the grind.
We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting death. Yeah, we're fighting death.
What is going on, Governors? Chiskel here, and today we're back to cast Ark of Osiris. I'm joined by Brian Koo. We're in Season 9, and this is the round of 16. We're going to be casting the LX17 versus 3310 matchup. We'll also reflect on how the matchups have shaped up today, which definitely had some major surprises and major upsets. BK, how are you, dude?
Chisgul, good to be back with you. There's no better time in the week to play or cast Ark of Osiris than Sunday afternoon.
You know, I've got some meat on the smoker. I'm getting ready for some barbecue later today. And, well, I won't turn that into a commentary on how certain matchups have shaped up today. I'll simply say, wow, there have been some surprises. And there's always upsets in Osiris League. But leading into this evening, there have been some major upsets. We talked earlier about the 1960 upset where they had their obelisk captured really early, and they were not able to turn that around, which, as it turns out, obelisk captures this season are a really big deal. Are there any other major upsets that you were tracking? I know I got messages from a couple people who were like, "Cheesy, I made a bunch of Oryx today."
Well, you know, WIB also lost. That was a game that I made some Oryx on, betting on OWR to beat WIB. The match that we cast earlier today, 1606, losing to DQ39, I think many would rate that as an upset. A lot of big kingdoms lost, a lot of lesser-known kingdoms won, and a lot of kingdoms that have a 3 at the front of their kingdom number, they're advancing. A ton of 3,000 plus kingdoms still alive in this Osiris League. Sometimes it feels like nothing changes in Rise of Kingdoms. This is one of those days where it feels like things are evolving.
Yeah, it was not business as usual. And something that you often hear me say is that if you're not favored to win, sometimes you need to take risky plays that have a low % chance of winning, but win you the game if they work out. And that's what I think some of these teams have done. They've taken these super risky plays, gone for obelisks at the start, and when it pays off, wow, does it pay off big? And like, yeah, if you're up against a team that is known to be exceptional in Ark of Osiris, I can totally get why you'd want to run a trick play, move all in on that trick play, and it either works or you were losing anyways, right? Like, it's actually like such a good strategy. I wish I could say like, I thought of it, but it's an amazing play.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. With the 3379 upset of 60 GT, they simply seized on a mistake by GT. GT did not have a fast T1 double C heading to their obelisk. They also did not have a garrison in that obelisk once they finally took it. And it was just a very well-timed risk-reward calculation by 3379. And they just upset the entire apple cart with that one.
Wow. So you're not even sure they went in with the game plan to take the obelisk, but once they saw the opportunity, they went for it?
I mean, that's what I wonder. I just wonder that because it wouldn't have worked if GT had gotten their obelisk on time and they had started to teleport cities in. I mean, maybe they still steal the obelisk. Maybe they teleport a couple of cities, but it would have worked so much less if GT had sort of just done the blocking and tackling they need to do.
Wow. Well, no room for error in the round of 16. And in this matchup of LX17 versus 3310, what do you think we're going to see? Is this going to be a close match? Is this going to be a blowout? I'm looking at the history and, LX17 won all 3 of their last matches. 3310 did take a loss against 1188. So what do you think this is going to look like?
I think we have another very, very close match on our hands here. These are 2 very similar kingdoms, 2 strong A kingdoms that have done very well in KVK, still looking for great success in Osiris League. 3310 looked really good last week against 1188. So although they are the number 2 seed coming out of their group and LX17 is the number 1 seed coming out of their group, I think this is really a 50-50 proposition because 3310 looked so strong against 1188. Honestly, that match was closer than even the score indicated because 3310 did made some mistakes on one of the mid fights, but at the same time they also had like an incredible master strategy arc steal. So yeah, I'm looking forward to like a really close match here and a very important match for both these kingdoms.
Wow. I mean, that is really hype. The winner of this match, by the way, is going to face 1188. So 3310, if they win, get a chance to run it back and try to get the W this time around. And if it's LX17, then they just try to continue their win spree, which it looks like, as I glance at their history here, no losses, all tournament, 8 wins, 0 losses, which is pretty impressive. You're right that there are a lot of like 3000 series kingdoms that have made it really far in the tournament, which I also think is really encouraging to see. And I also feel like the blend of skills this season makes it extremely risky to play fast and loose with your obelisk at the start. So do you think that these teams, having seen multiple obelisk shenanigans in matches earlier today, I mean, it was in the match we cast, both teams tried to capture obelisks, each one using a completely different approach for that, by the way. We also saw that, in the earlier matches with GT, as we mentioned. Do you think these teams are rapidly changing their plan in terms of, we talked earlier about several things you could do. Leave more players behind at the obelisk, just play it a little bit cautious, right? Change the skills around, maybe move in and attack themselves. What do you think we're going to see?
I think we're going to see a little bit more defense from both teams at their obelisks. And I think that's going to be the extent of the adjustments. One thing we saw in the last match was we saw DQ39 use No March to take that obelisk. No March boosts the attack on structures. So it gave them that extra boost to topple that thing over. It also speeds up the capture time, right? No March makes you capture buildings 1 minute faster. So that, I think, is what has made obelisk captures more dangerous in this situation. But I think you just play defense against it, right? Because if you can reject that obelisk attack, not only are you getting the opponent out of position, but you're causing them to burn a 6-point skill before the first mid fight. So you just play defense against it. You just play a little more conservatively and then take advantage on the back end.
Well, it looks like the match is actually about to start in 20 seconds. So I actually have that pulled up now. Let's jump in the match and let's see what they do.
Let's do it.
All right, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The match begins. We're looking now at 3310 in red, LX17 in blue. Energetic used by both teams. Now, this doesn't disqualify them from making an obelisk attack, but it might point in the direction of both teams playing a little bit more cautiously.
You know, we saw. Listen, I might be underestimating the points game, right? Because we saw in the last match, Chiz, we saw them use energetic, and then we saw them use no march not long after that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty wild. But that, basically, teams get points very quickly, and they like to use them immediately. So
Well,
I
it
don't know
is
that we know
possible.
for sure. Yeah, I don't know that we know
Yeah.
anything for sure yet.
It doesn't rule it out. But if they didn't use energetic, I think that will be a strong signal that either they don't know the meta or they're up to something.
Yep. And the other change that we talked about earlier at the start of the matches is that people are holding their sentries for much later. If you zoom out here, you'll see that both teams have only dropped one sentry at this point. I do think that's a very interesting change. And maybe it's a little bit to do with the obelisk stuff, like you want to have vision later on once you get a feel for where the enemy is going. But a lot of teams now are choosing to go in blind at the start of these matches and not really see too much.
I kind of like it. So, you know, there's a cooldown on the sentry, right? And you're buying information when you drop it, and you can't buy information again for some amount of time. And so I like the ability to get a read on the situation. I think it's pretty smart. It's counterintuitive because, you know, you want to be able to drop your sentries again and get more information, like kind of as quickly as possible, but I see the value in holding it and then dropping it where you think you really need it.
Yeah,
So I
and we're
do
seeing
wonder.
a few more. Yeah, a few more getting placed down now, and part of it is like you don't want your sentries to get picked off early on, right? If you place a sentry that's like kind of good, but the enemy sees it and they get to it before you do, then it's just, you know, it's dead. So, you know, if you wait a little while, you can make sure that you're securing whatever area you put that sentry on.
Possible shenanigans were afoot here with this obelisk, but they weren't faster than the rally. And honestly, it was like so shockingly close. It really points to how much you really need to be locked in on your opener. And there's no room for error at this stage of the tournament, which is pretty incredible. I mean, already, right? Like it's round of 16 and the margin for error is near zero in your opener, which, I don't know, I guess I've been saying for ages, the opener is the most rehearsable portion of what you're up to. So it like should be, to some extent, perfection, right?
Yeah, there's just so many things that these teams have to work on. You mentioned in the last match how, like, you know, people have to tailor their formations to do certain things. And, you know, you've got to get people to teleport in the right place. You can spend the entire pregame just making sure everybody teleports in the right place. And then all of a sudden the gates open and you forgot to mention this one thing to this one player. And some stuff goes wrong. Yeah, there's just a lot to focus on. And what we saw today really is that if you are a team that focuses on everything and gets everything right, you are going to have an edge on teams that roll in and are like, well, we're such and such, we've accomplished all these things, and we'll just be fine.
Looking around the map here, do you see any obelisk shenanigans? I do see LX is really respecting the obelisk play. They've got about 5 marches left behind at both of their obelisks here. I think they're moving away from that now with the remaining 15 seconds before they start to cap, but putting a lot of respect to what they saw earlier today. Meanwhile, I think 3310 has left themselves vulnerable, but I mean, nothing happened, so no punish there.
Yeah, no punish, but interesting, right? That they really didn't adjust to the results earlier. They were just kind of like, well, we've defended our obelisk every time in our lives so far. Let's just keep doing the same thing. We don't have to go overboard on it. And in this case, the calculation was right. It's not a big thing, but they have slightly more marches forward than LX17 does.
Yeah, I suppose I should stop obelisk gazing over here and focus on these altars where there is fighting happening. A lot of marches on the field here. I'm trying to get a read on some of these commander pairings. It does look like there's been a sort of surprising amount of Gorgo usage in the matches we were spectating. What do you think is the meta garrison in Arc these days?
It's interesting you noticed that. I didn't notice that earlier, and I was remarking earlier in the season that I'm surprised we don't see more Gorgo, because Eleanor is just so susceptible to swarm. It seems like Eleanor is still the meta garrison, but yeah, I'm surprised we don't see more Gorgos, because she is just such a strong garrison. I think it's still up in the air, but I think most teams lean Eleanor as the main garrison.
I tend to agree with you on that one. Yeah. We do see that this altar has flipped red. So 3310 is looking like they may get the cap here. Speaking of Eleanor, there she is. So they were able to get a garrison captain in. You can see the garrison captain over here. Oh, they got a backup? Wow. I mean, that is... and they switched. So rather than use the Eleanor, they are using the... I believe it's a Hera with YSS?
Yeah, gotta be.
Ooh. I mean, YSS did get buffed recently, right?
He did.
He got a museum buff.
Health buff and a march speed buff. The march speed buff is basically it's just an arc. It's an arc buff, you know? It's an acknowledgement that YSS is still being used.
Yeah. Are you still playing arc with him? Well, good news. He's got more march speed. That is true. You generally don't think of march speed on a garrison as being particularly valuable, but in the context of Arc of Osiris, that's actually everything. Unless you sneak it in from the rally, you really do need that march speed.
Yep. And so on the map now, with 90 seconds to go before these first captures, on the top side, 3310 has taken both buildings from LX17 and has good presence here at the Desert Altar. Rally coming in right now from LX17, but not a lot of field support, and that might doom this attempt by Blue to get this building back. These swarmers are going to have to put in a lot of work here to try to dislodge this Hera from the Desert Altar in the next minute.
Yeah, I'm feeling like 3310 is just looking very solid in this garrison right now. The only thing that could upset the apple cart here will be if they come in with a rally, and I just don't see that. In fact, some of these marches are just resetting to go mid here on the cities. So 3310 is looking pretty confident in this position, at least for the initial capture. With 45 seconds left, I think that is some justified confidence. Ooh.
Okay, early no march by 3310 as well. They're going to get insta value on these buildings with that no march, and that can signal that they're maybe not going to go heavy for this mid, and that all these marches that are low health at the Desert Altar now, they might die off and walk right back here. Interesting play here by 3310. Let's see if they try to do everything here, Chiz. Are they going to try to contest the mid and take advantage of this no march, or are they going to sack the mid and just go sides here?
Feels a little aggressive to me to play to middle and to play to the sides.
Yeah, but they showed a little greed there where they had some of their marches sad facing before this first capture, right? They sad faced and then cast no march and then got the first cap. So that's a little greedy as well. Those marches might decide to go mid.
Yeah, I mean, it's a compelling opening from 3310. I do feel like they lose some of that momentum if they forfeit this arc, but I mean, they've got 3/4 of the buildings, the main buildings, right? That's a pretty good position to be in.
Yeah, and they're certainly on the top side. They are certainly rushing back to that Desert Altar that they still own. They're looking to own this topside Desert Altar throughout this first arc. They might lose the first arc, but they're going to hold the Desert Altar.
Might lose their own Desert Altar here in a second. I'm feeling like they're trying to go mid, and they're either going to be just on time or a little bit late. I mean, as I look around, they've got 3 minutes to get there. They seem to be massing up to go middle. But also some people going to the sides. It's unclear to me, but I will say this. This Desert Altar, ooh, it is in trouble.
Absolutely, absolutely. But they've got a lot of players on the, they're about to take the Sky Altar on the bottom side, though. They're losing their Desert Altar, but they're going to take the Sky Altar. They've got the Sky Altar completely surrounded on this bottom side. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade on the bottom side. And on the top side, they're looking pretty good to hold one of blue team's buildings. So they're getting pretty good value for this no march. And the Eleanor's holding on here. The Eleanor's, trying to get value as long as she can. There she goes. But look at this. I mean, look at the situation at this other building. It's completely red.
Yeah, the flip of altars is kind of funny. Just walk past each other and take each other's buildings here. Meanwhile, they're still in this Desert Altar in the top lane. I mean, the building game has shaken out well for 3310. I mean, look at that leaderboard. It does not lie. The scoreboard's got them 4,000 points ahead. The question is, are they going to get this arc? Or are they just giving it? I think they might be giving it. I don't think they want to give it. Like, you got people going in different directions to do different things too. So it is not totally clear to me.
I think that what's happening is they have so many players in the start zone, and the middle is so much closer for those marches that you have to send them mid. Like, it's such a long walk to like the enemy Desert Altar from start zone, so you have to send those start zone marches mid. And actually they're massing up like as this happens. Yeah, and like the thing is, blue has stopped going mid, and red has just continued to mass up. And I actually think that red, in a minute, is going to have a numbers advantage mid.
It's kind of funny. And blue doesn't have that information. They don't know that because their sentry's too far back. So they're just sort of sitting here sipping their pina coladas, right? Not realizing that, wait a minute, they are about to be in trouble. Now, they do have Dust Up active in LX17, which means the visual range for 3310 is lower as well, right?
Yep, lower visual range, and also they do have more skills. They have more points to cast skills, LX17 does. So when and if this becomes a big fight in the mid, they can have a skill advantage. But man, I just think they look very outnumbered, Chiz. I think I don't know, this feels like a bit of a miscalculation by LX17 to stop sending mid.
I agree.
But I like this. We saw this in the last match too. They cut off the back of the ball. They chased the tail of this ball.
I do like that, although I don't love that there's like 10 marches AFK at this temple right now. AFK. Like there might be some alternate plan that those marches have, but there's to the death.
Yeah, that's why you want
this is
all
a huge play for middle. I feel like that use of to the death was a little bit late, to be honest.
It was okay. I think it was fine, but the problem is you have like 10 marches not hitting. If those 10 marches were hitting, like that's why they waited. They waited for these two players to wake up. The players didn't wake up, and that's really what's hurting this to the death. But they're looking pretty good here. Yeah,
to the death. They are chilling, brother. It's funny. Maybe they were all stacked up on top of each other, so it's kind of hard to assess, but it's looking all blue at this point.
Yep.
Okay, so blue gets this arc. If they do, they actually get the leaderboard pretty close to even, and they would be down on the points per minute, but getting it closer and closer. The question is, are they getting this arc? And I think they're pulling it out of the middle. The question, I guess I should ask more clearly, is will 3310 go to contest it again on its route? Not a lot of avenues to do that, by the way.
No, they really don't have any good ambush potential here. So I think they're probably just going to focus on their buildings. They've got a big ball. Red team has a big force on the top side near their Sky Altar, so they might attack the Shrine of Life. They're starting to mass up for another attack on the Desert Altar on the top side. It's going to take a minute or two. And, the question now is, can LX17 compete on the sides against 3310?
I don't see a vector for 3310 to ambush this at all. I mean, I keep looking for it, right? Because I mean, not only is that just very entertaining, but also, you know, if you're 3310 now, you'd love to try to score this thing yourself, but I mean, the Desert Altar Vector, I don't see anything pushing through there. The top lane, yeah, maybe they'll get this altar, but there's no way they can swing down and be impactful on this, you know, carrier. I do think the carrier is going in a great direction. Interesting ambush from the outpost. So you got like one player over here. But, you know, Big Tyrion here probably buys, you know, 30 to 45 seconds. And that's not nothing, but I also don't see a way to cash in those 30 to 45 seconds. In fact, these folks, instead of pushing forward, they're going backward to take out the people that are cycling from middle to this altar. So I think this carrier is likely to be fine. So then the question is, do you hold this arc? I don't think you do.
I think the account strength is better on 3310. They've already got a bit of a lead on the ratio. So winning a bunch of mids is going to be tough for LX17. I like a hold until the timing is good. And so you try to get a situation where the sides look pretty good for LX17, and then you return it, and then you sort of try to swing that momentum to winning the second arc as well. So, but I do like a bit of a hold. I don't think you're like so confident that you immediately cap this arc.
But given that they're walking directly to Shrine of War, are they signaling they're going to insta-cap? Why would you march it here if you aren't going to insta?
Here's one thing, right? 3310 did use Master Strategy last week. So this whole time that Daddy Rusk has been walking, he's a little bit worried about a Master Strategy right on top of him.
Oh.
So I do
you
think
this was like a hedge that like, if needed,
it's just
he
kind
just
of like
insta-caps?
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe they're talking about it. They might be talking about it right now.
Like, yeah. You know, if you were planning to hold it, you would not have walked that way. So they must, to your point, think there's some sort of trickery that could have happened. In fairness, we haven't seen 3310 use any abilities for quite some time. So I don't know how many they could have accumulated by this point, but they must be getting up there.
They are getting up there. The one issue with No March and Time Warp is that like they're 6-point skills, you know?
Yeah, they're big.
So
it's big.
Yeah, it's like you build up, you spend all this time building up your skill bar, and then you use it all at once, and you're back down to 0. So it's a little sluggish. It's a little sluggish to be using No March and Time Warp all the time. So you know the lack of skills from 3310 is really just a reflection of that sluggishness.
Saw another Gorgo garrison. Was kind of circling that for a second there. It's kind of funny. Do you stick with Arch if you're using Gorgo still? I would assume so. Rather than moving into
I think so,
Pincer.
definitely. You know, what I've heard is that if you're getting swarmed by 5 or more marches, then Arch is definitely better than Pincer. And most of the time in Arc, you're getting swarmed by, you know, at least 5 marches.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I would probably stick with Arch. But man, Pincer is great for a rally. Even in Arc, where you're just getting moderately swarmed, Pincer just does so much freaking damage.
Do you think that the new garrison will have a major impact on Arc League?
That's a good question. It doesn't seem like it. People don't seem too bullish about that new commander. I haven't heard. I'm curious what you think about it, because you're actually quite good at theory crafting these commanders.
Oh boy.
But so far, people are saying there's no anti-swarm on the new commander.
Yep, that's one
And
strike against
so
it.
it's like, do you really replace Hera? I mean, Hera is an amazing arc garrison with the
Right.
anti-swarm plus the shield.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, it's honestly got 3 strikes. To your point, no anti-swarm. Then also, we are talking about infantry, so it marches slower, and you're not going to have as many infantry in here, right? And it doesn't really have any sustain either. So I think that the Hera is actually kind of just doing all the things you wanted for Arc. It's kind of remarkable how that mixed troop just adds so much value. To the point that, like, is this another Hera YSS? It sure is, right? So, like, people have even you know, I'd say dusted off their YSS, but really the dust hasn't even really like settled on him as a commander. Like he's still getting use. So yeah, I think that mixed troop value is too real still.
So about 30 seconds ago, LX17 did return the Arc. We're seeing why they returned it when they did. They're attacking the Desert Altar on the bottom side. They're trying to have a successful defense on this top side where their marches are going to die out in a minute or two, and then they can go to mid. So they're trying to get a nice timing here on this second Arc. It looks like it's working okay for LX17, but, you know, the pressure from 3310 and their account strength is definitely a factor here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking around the map to kind of get a read. We look at the points per minute, 590 to 440. So they are gaining. That's kind of exactly the pace they need. Like, obviously you want it to be super in your favor, but this is a pretty, like, if they can keep up this pace, which, okay, they just lost a building. But if they could keep up that pace for the remainder of the match, they're in a good spot. I will say the opener really gave a big edge to 3310. Like, this entire time has been about making up for the opener.
And for that first no march, right? So, you know, 3310 has used their no march once. LX17 has not used it at all. In that sense, LX17 does have a bit of an advantage. And yeah, we've got a pretty close match here. We've definitely got a pretty close match again. 3310, I'm sort of looking around now. It's like, how are they set up for this next arc fight? On the bottom side, they can sad face. On the top side, they're attacking. You know, they're attacking the Desert Altar again here on the top side. So they might be in a little trouble getting to mid again.
Yeah, that timing's going to be weird.
It's a little weird. Like that group right there. You know, that's the group that I'm worried about as far as getting to middle. Yeah. But I mean, they can attack. Maybe they take the building, and then they get to mid after that. But I think this is a very important second arc here, because whoever wins it is going to have a lead, and then they can maybe hold it for quite a long time. And especially if it's 3310, if you win this arc, you're in really good shape.
That was another energetic cast by LX. So, I mean, yeah, that's reasonable. It's 5 minutes till arc time. We have seen literally no skills from 3310 since
you know
no
what,
march.
Chis, we saw this. We have to say this. Last match, last week against 1188, they went like 15 to 20 minutes casting no skills. They had a whole mid fight that they could have won, but they didn't cast any skills. I mean, maybe they just don't like casting energetic when it's off cooldown. But, like, it just has to be said that for some bizarre reason, they did not cast skills for, like, 15, 20 minutes last week. And they're kind of doing it again here.
I mean, you've, like, set up this joke for me to say, is that a skill issue? But I guess what I really mean by that is, do you think they're just overwhelmed by what's happening in the match? That they're just letting their points kind of overflow and saving for what happens next?
Maybe. I think you have to. I think casting energetic when it was off cooldown here like makes complete sense. I'm not sure why they didn't cast energetic. So, but they've got 10 points. At the end of the day, they've got 10 points right now. And
you think? Yeah, they've got to be sitting on 10 by now. Like they have to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So if they're sitting on 10, I guess they're just waiting for a big mid.
It's building up to one. As I watch these marches start to move around, it is building up to a big mid fight.
Yeah. So. That's true. A little bit of a tussle, actually, in mid. Yeah, Daddy Rusk kind of stoked the flames there. No, it's not accidental. They're going back in. Little poke fest going on with the Jones. Joan Primary is something I think is a great choice for Arc specifically, for hasty departure. I assume that's Joan with Nevsky. And then Huo Williams seems to still be very popular. Great cavalry combos. You people do have that pincer formation locked in. BK is going to be kind of a cool addition. Is it BK, BQ?
BQ.
Okay.
I'm BK.
Yes, you're BK. BQ is going to be kind of a cool addition to Arc. Change up kind of what combos people are using in the open field. I'm very much looking forward to that. I mean, infantry player. Looking forward to new infantry. Big surprise.
Hey, listen, I'm not even an infantry player, but I'm very much looking forward to BQ. I'm planning to max him very quickly. Those infantry open field marches are just so strong that, yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait for the Lucci BQ or the BQ Lucci, whatever it is. It's probably going to be my best trading march.
Yeah, it is, especially if you go pincer, which I think I probably personally won't yet because I garrison and probably would like to have Arch in the arsenal. We'll see. It's going to have to be a game time decision. But, sticking with what I have saves me all the conversion stones. So that might... I have an incentive to stay with what I've already got, if it makes sense, and we'll see. There's one player getting kind of ambushed on their way toward the ball here.
That's Whitey. That's their skill caster right there. That's a march that, if they were planning some sort of master strategy obelisk steal, that would be the march that before now would have tried to steal the arc, but he's too low at this point.
Oh, that's their skill caster.
Yeah, that's their...
Funny,
they're mixing it up, but at least last week that was their skill caster.
I used to play with them back in the day in 1075.
Is that right? I didn't know that. That's not
Long
a name
ago.
I recognize from 1075. Okay.
Yeah, in a galaxy far, far away. Feels like ages ago, honestly. So there's mid-fights happening. We see Bogdown's been activated by 3310. I like Bogdown. It's a little more expensive than I remember at 4 points. It's a little more pricey than it used to be, right? Is it always 4?
I'm not sure. I think it's always been 4. I think so.
In my mind, I think it was 3, but you might be right. It's always been 4.
Red looking very good here. They went in, they cast the higher value skill with Bogdown, got a lot of value from it,
and Dust Up, by the way.
Yep, and Dust Up now as well.
They're just really cleaning up with the use of both those skills, and nothing from LX.
Nothing from LX. Yeah, nothing from LX.
It's really surprising because my read of this mid fight, I don't think I reacted to it, but it's actually similar to yours. Which is like, yeah, this is a great arc to get. It kind of sets the tone for the remainder of the match to get this arc. And I mean, it's going to have to come down to an ambush if LX wants this arc, right? At this point, it looks like smooth sailing.
So there's the no march from LX17. They decided at some point to not cast skills mid so that they could use no march instead. It's a good compensation prize. It's a compensation prize. I wonder if that was the plan the whole time, or if they just didn't like the engage and then they ixnayed the time warp plus to the death. Either way,
you think it was just going so bad they were like, nah, we're out of here?
I mean, they mobilized fairly big mid, and it's a very important arc for sure. So I don't know. I think the adjustments that get made before the mid fight are just so crazy at this point, because you have to decide, like, are you going to really contest the mid, and you have to decide exactly what players are going mid versus what players are going sides. It's a lot of real-time decision making by these skill casters. So they might have just made a call on the fly. We're not going to fight mid. Let's cast no march.
Herman Prime captain here. That's digging deep.
That's like one of the best non-garrisons.
Really?
Herman Zug is one of the best non-garrison captains in Arc. Yeah.
Huh. I mean, I guess it's got AoE damage, skill damage
AOE.
mitigation.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, they've got a lot of cav hitting it. Or no, actually they don't. They just have the one cav. So look at that Philip or Arthur Philip out there.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, very interesting.
I mean, if you've got the combo stuff set up, Philip is nice to have for your mid fights, right? I would assume.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's interesting that Philip is the one behind it, right? If you've got the if you've got the combo formation, instead of going like Huo or Joan, like think about it, like Arthur or Joan in a mid fight, and choosing to go with the Philip instead. But maybe that's the combo, right? It's like Arthur Philip is one, and then Joan primary as your second cav.
To your point, I'm looking at a Joan Arthur as one of the combos over here. Yeah.
I just saw Joan Honda. I just saw Joan Honda hitting stuff.
And I'm looking at a Philip with Asher Benapal. Didn't expect that. I mean, there's some marches out here, man. and I do think Philip adds a pretty cool dynamic. team fights, right? Like those buffs are just very, very powerful. So I like having an excuse to bring them in, particularly for swarming, but I think for mid fights they also would be quite good as well. This garrison here, holding on. See some pincer marches coming through, but it is in there and misclicked there. I meant to click on that. The no march. So for the next 300 seconds, your team captures buildings 60 seconds faster and gains team points from occupying buildings 30% faster. In addition, allied troops deal 20% more damage when attacking buildings and take 20% less damage when garrisoning buildings. I mean, it is a massive ability.
Yeah, check the Shrine of War on the top side. That's where LX17 is really trying to get the value right now, is by taking that Shrine of War. They've got a big swarm on that Gorgo there. But, you know, so far there were 3 minutes into this no march, and LX17 really hasn't flipped a lot of buildings. They're actually tied in points, even though they have no march active. So, not getting a ton of value so far. And look at how long this Gorgo is holding here. Big hold from the
solid,
Gorgo,
brother.
Man, I mean,
It's
Eleanor
a
would just
great
be gone at this
garrison.
point.
Just not in this context, I would argue, right? Because, like, how many of these reinforcements are infantry? But I guess when every march swarming you is at 5 to 10% health, any garrison will do, any troops will work.
Yeah, and infantry is so strong right now that a lot of people are running 2 open field infantry marches. So
Really?
I would
guess
think so,
yeah.
Right?
So is it like Ragnar Skippy? I'm actually looking at Ragnar
Ragnar
Phillip on my
Skippy, and then
screen.
like Lucci something. Ragnar Skippy and Lucci something.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be LCBQ, or probably BQLC in the future.
Right. But you can use Philip for now. You know, you can use LC Philip.
Gorgo actually held.
Yeah, that's a crazy hold, man.
That I cannot believe that. That was a hold right there. That is a jaw-dropping hold. That thing, let me tell you, it had no health left.
There it
Yeah,
is. Whitey smashes. Whitey smashes. Oh, a Gorgo Charles. It was a Gorgo Charles. Or maybe I'm looking at the last one, the last report. It says 3 minutes ago. That's got to be it. Yeah, I think it was a Gorgo Charles. That
Wow.
had
You
a
don't
nice
see that
trade.
every day.
No, that's an interesting call that worked out beautifully there. Beautifully.
I mean, if you can keep it full, it's very powerful. That's the sort of thing about counterattack that people don't quite understand, I think, is that, you know, how much counterattack you're going to do depends a lot on the quantity of troops you have in there. If you can keep your troop count very high consistently and have no dips, you really do very well with that garrison. But I suppose it's all a matter of relative troop count, right? So if you have the same amount of troops as your enemy, you're doing okay. And so all those marches swarming were really low. Oh, this is looking like a cooked garrison potentially. Those reinforcements.
It's looking cooked, but you know, after that big hold by the Gorgo, all those marches that were helping the Gorgo can now slingshot forward and recontest this desert altar. LX17 did get it under control for the moment, but it's
The Ark
just
got
gonna be under
captured too,
pressure
by the
again.
way.
Yeah, fast return there by 3310. Interesting.
It is kind of surprising because they could have set up just to have one final arc, but there could be 2 arcs now, right?
So the next one will be at 17 minutes, and then it'll probably take 10 minutes to return. I mean, it's close. It's pretty close, actually, right?
It is very close.
So it's like 17 minutes it spawns. If you take like, if LX17 returns it fast, there's like 14 minutes left. The next arc spawns with like 6 minutes, 5-6 minutes to go in the match.
That's plenty of time. Yeah.
It can happen. It can happen.
It could totally happen. So this could still be a 2-arc game. Kind of a bold choice, but I think, you know, if I put myself in their shoes, maybe they were feeling the points per minute pressure from the building game, from the no march. And by the way, is it no march or no mark?
I say no march. I think that's a cool name, no march. Like,
I was saying it
doesn't
because
make-
you were saying it that way, so I followed your lead. But now I feel like I need to. I think it's no mark.
I know, but no march.
Governor
is funny,
or ruler
man.
of a
The
region
whole
or
game
province.
is based on marches. This whole game is based on marches. And the best
Specifically
arc skill is
referring to
called
the
no
ancient
march.
Egyptian system of regional administration. Anyways, a
In
moment
ROK,
of
you can
history
pronounce.
lesson
In
here.
ROK, you can pronounce anything however you want.
Okay.
I still say cow.
Oh, that's a little cringe, brother.
What's the proper pronunciation?
Cao Cao.
Zao with like a T.
Hey, look.
Zao?
Let me tell you this. As the #1 mispronouncer of historical things, I try to do my best, but appreciate that sometimes you do the best you can and you mispronounce stuff. Is what it is.
Yep.
Shrine of War here. Gorgo Garrison back to cooking with is it Charles again? It is. I'd recognize those shields anywhere. I wonder if they're using like the shield formation, hollow square. Be kind of cool tech to see that actually.
Would that be any better with Charles? I mean, I feel like Arch is still.
Yeah.
Oh, because he has that.
He
shield
has
on
big
first
shields,
skill.
and it stacks with the Gorgo Mighty Shield. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think it could cook. And I think you see a higher percentage of skill damage in this game mode than you do other places in the game, actually. So the hollow square anti-skill damage stuff is actually pretty noteworthy. I do wonder if you're able to peek into the battle report, if you see any signs of it. I don't want to send you off on a, big mission for information finding, but I do wonder if it's in there.
You're looking for again the
For hollow square. I mean,
for
how would
hollow
that show
square.
up?
Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
You like try to find the special inscriptions, or if it indicates the damage taken reduction. Anyways, drop a message in the chat if you think hollow square would be kind of cool for this situation. I think it would be. I think hollow square is somewhat underrated as a formation, but that is also because you kind of need to be using Charles and running a big anti-swarm situation to pull it off. I don't think there's any meta garrison that I'm aware of. Well, I mean, Hero YSS, you could actually argue, would be better with hollow square. Actually, I think Hero YSS hollow square would be your best option for this arc, wouldn't it?
Plenty of shielding on Hera for sure.
I mean, what are you using on Hero YSS? If you're like trying to be the best, the very best in Arc of Osiris League, and you're running a Hero YSS, what would be the very best formation you could run? It's not Wedge. It could be Arch. I'd be open to Arch, but I think hollow square would actually be it by a not small margin.
Could be. That's
It's got that sustain, baby.
There's lots of great leadership garrisons out there. I actually don't know what people are running on with it.
I mean, I think the main leadership. Well, you're right that there are a lot of mixed garrisons out there. I think the only leadership garrison is the Hera YSS. The Hera Lapu Lapu is, I think, a not quite optimal, but still viable alternative. I think it can work, but I think it's probably less good for Arc, because Lapu Lapu is very much like an anti-rally commander. Whereas the YSS, the counterattack, the shielding, it just does what you need. There's Dust Up from LX17. Visual range has changed.
Big numbers advantage here for 3310 mid. Looks like to me. They certainly have way more marches still heading towards mid.
17,
a lot of LX17 marches are just stranded on the sides at this point.
They got kind of a tall order here. Like, they need to get this arc, and they need to get the buildings. This is rough. There's time.
They look
warp.
very outnumbered. There's time warp from LX17, so they probably want to cast To the Death again. maybe waiting
down.
for 3310 to push in.
I mean, I'll say this, right? Sometimes you have to do risky plays. And this is a risky play for LX17. I actually really respect it. Oh, but both sides used to the death. That's really rough. I think what 17 needed to do was to be somewhat light in the middle and count on to the death to carry it. And they also need to get the buildings. They're casting energetic. Oof. Wow. So they had no, I guess, combat option for this mid fight on their bar. They used to the death. They used dust up. So what's that final skill? Strategist?
Yeah, maybe Master Strategy. Let's see what they used last week. They had Desert Storm last week, the skill we talked about earlier. It's probably Desert Storm.
And I mean, if they had the points, I'd have used Desert Storm in this fight. I said, well, here we go. Hope for the best.
Well, they used 8 with Dust Up and
yeah, I guess they didn't have
the
it.
death.
Yeah,
So.
there's not enough points left. That's a fair call out. I mean, they theoretically could have cast the Dust Up sooner and recovered to that amount. I think
they're
they were
hanging
going to
in
win
their mid.
anyways, though.
They're hanging in their mid.
Yeah, they are. I thought they had less people in middle, but like they're doing it, right?
Yeah, this is big. This keeps the game very up in the air. If LX17 can win this mid. Long mid fight here.
This is an
It's
unusually
gonna
long
extend-
mid fight.
Yeah, it's going to extend so long that the arc is going to spawn underneath these marches right now. The pull is going to be important. It does look like LX17 is in good shape here, though. So the pull is less important than just winning the fight at this point.
I mean, I think they've got the numbers, but everybody's so low, it's taking forever.
Yeah, I mean...
This
I
is
don't
the
think
kind of arc you can
3310
send back to middle.
Yeah, or Master Strategy. I mean, you've got to be thinking about the points now for 3310. They
both
both
used
down
the
into the death. Yeah, they used everything. They're just not going to get 6 points to be able to warp to contest this thing. And if you're 3310, you just have to start thinking about getting enough points on the sides.
Right.
They're already starting to... I'm seeing the marches that died mid are going back to the sides. They're attacking that Desert Altar again on the top side. And... you know, now it's really LX17 that needs to thread the needle and return this arc with all these beaten up marches, but their fresh marches have got to just go back to the sides and get points there. Because they're still going to be down like 1,500 points at this.
They need to score this arc and then score the next one too. Like they need to get 2 arcs here. And that is achievable, right? They need to score this one. It'll be a 7-minute countdown. So they'll have a small number of minutes. It's doable. But that's, you play to your outs, and that's their out. It's a double arc here, is what it has to be now. And, like, obviously they need this building game to at least maintain. I mean, if they maintain this gap and they score 2 arcs, they win, right? It's close.
Absolutely. It's
close.
And they actually are winning on the points game right now.
Ooh. 17 could win here. Like, they actually are on the pathway to recovering from not winning to winning, right? Like, this is what the path looks like, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, listen, the fourth arc is 1 win condition, but maybe the danger of the fourth arc keeps the sides open enough that you just, like, go for the sides. It's going to be interesting how this plays out here in the final 15 minutes, but we definitely have a game on our hands. I'm surprised that LX17 is winning the side game right now because it just they went pretty heavy mid.
I'm really surprised that they are not dunking this arc into a
we saw
building
this.
as
We
fast
saw
as
this
they
in the
can.
first week. We saw this in the first week with WIB, where like they could have returned it to a building and they took it to their cities instead, and that 90 seconds literally lost them the match. And
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. I think you just dunk this in the Shrine of War, always. Like they're not even going straight to the obelisk. They're taking this long scenic route, and I agree with you, Chisgo. I think this is crazy to do it like this.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're the true experts here of the situation and what needs doing, but and now they didn't even exchange it. I think they changed their mind. They were gonna do the exchange. They're like, no, just score it, right? Because why else would they have walked all the way to the node and then gone somewhere else? This arc carrier is actually alone. There's nobody nearby. There's nothing that can be done.
Yeah, but if you're 3310, you don't even want to use your skills on like a crazy master strategy. You just have to like do well enough on the building game.
They're scoring it at their own city. I think they could gain a few seconds back if they went to this other one, but it doesn't really matter. It's neither here nor there.
Yep, and they've lost now. So now 3310 has taken the Sky Altar on the bottom side. They're winning in the points game at this point. We start to think about gathering. I'm seeing 3 gatherers from LX17. I'm seeing 5 gatherers from 3310, maybe 6 gatherers from 3310. So 3310, you know, they have a game plan of how they're going to win this thing. And at this point, they are executing it. It's still going to take a really big play from LX17 to get back in this match. And like we've said, taking your sweet time in this arc is not the big play you need.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is very much like anybody's game, actually. The points per minute, very close. It's going to come down to this last arc, potentially. And obviously, provisioning could have an impact here. Neither team has really done a meaningful amount of provisioning, which to me feels like maybe those provisioners are just not home yet.
It's always hard to tell. It's so hard to tell. I'm going to quickly look around and see if it's the same player gathering, because that's a bit of a tell that someone's been out there for a long time. For LX17, it's 2 players gathering with 2 marches each. So that could be long-term. That could be a long-term thing.
So, I mean, the provisions alone could sway this, but either way, whoever gets this last arc, if it's scored, that's it. Neither side has to the death.
Yeah, 3310's more scattershot in their gathering. It's more players doing it, but they also have more gatherers out there. Last week, LX17 gathered 4,000, and 3310 gathered 4,600 last week. So they both do have significant provisioning efforts.
Significant, but equivalent.
Yeah, equivalent, exactly.
Yeah,
they cancel each other out.
So that might not be a factor, or at least not a major factor. I mean, it all depends on how these buildings go in the coming minutes. 3310 is gaining edge here. If they could do that for the full 10 minutes, and they get an edge on, you know, the provisions, that could flip it so that even with an arc, LX17 can't win. So here's a question. If you're 3310, are you going mid? Or are you just pushing buildings and saying, we'll just win with buildings?
You know what I'm doing? I'm pushing buildings, and then I'm warping on the arc carrier to just slow it down.
Interesting.
I mean, you know, you could contest mid with players who have nothing else to do and slow it down a little bit at the building, but you really just hold for that master strategy and warp onto it.
What is the last skill here in the bar for 3310?
I think it is definitely master strategy for 3310.
Really?
And I think it is likely Desert Storm for LX17 just based on what they have used in the past.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that 3310. Honestly, I think they're putting. Sorry, it's LX17 is putting too much emphasis on going middle early. This to me feels really early, like a mistake level of earliness.
Yeah, this is mistake level. Let's see if it costs them though, because right
if
now they have
cost
other
them.
buildings.
You're right. It doesn't matter,
Yeah,
but it is going to cost them.
They don't have other buildings right now, but
they're
we can
lose
see like on the
Altar.
bottom side. Like look at this. Yeah, that's where it's going to cost them. Look at this.
It is
like,
going to cost
probably
them.
lose this building.
Yeah, I think this is the point where I will be telling people to go middle. If you're outside lane, I generally feel like 6 minutes is like, okay, start to make your way to middle. And then inside lane, I'd say like 5 minutes till spawn. I'm like, okay, you guys need to go to the middle. Like the goal is to get here around the 3 minute mark. I would say not the 5 minute till arc spawn mark. So that said, let's see what the cost is for going mid early.
Yeah. Well, 3310 is clearly doing what I said. They're going all in sides, and then they have master strategy in their back pocket for what they need to do.
Which makes the rush to middle even more irrelevant to have done.
Even worse.
It's even worse. Yeah. Yeah.
They need to redirect. LX17 probably needs to redirect at this point. They do have vision, Like they have vision of the mid. They have a sentry mid that shows no enemy marches. It's
Yeah,
like
they have
you
two
know what's
sentries mid.
happening.
Yeah.
So you just have to redirect at this point and try to keep some of your buildings. But I mean, they just feel like, okay, if we get 4,500 points, we just win, which is not that's not.
Is
That
that
ain't
true
bad.
though? I don't know that that's true. Like, if
you know what's
3310
still-
shoves
it doesn't
these
have to
buildings in the way that they are, like, I don't know, man. Look at this. They're cooking this Sky Altar.
Yep, but it doesn't have to be master strategy. It can be time warp. The last skill for 3310 can just be time warp. You know, but if it was time warp, they would cast no march right now. Like it has to be master strategy, because if you had time warp, you would use it.
You would have
and
used
you would
it.
use no march. Yeah,
Yeah.
you would have used no march here.
Yeah. I mean, they are cooking these buildings. Look at this map. The whole map's red.
Yeah,
This is exactly what 3310 can't afford. Like, yes, they need the arc, but they I don't think they can afford this situation that they're in now. It costs them too much. And by the way, these guys could go middle for free. It's still 3 minutes till arc spawn.
yeah, it was too early. It was just
Too
way
early.
Too early.
Too early.
Yeah.
Too many too early. And if they had been met by 3310, it would have been fine. Do you see what I mean? Like, if you map out what is the possibility space here, it's like, well, if LX17 goes early and 3310 goes early, it's a wash. But if LX17 goes that early and 3310 hits buildings, they're cooked. And that is what we're seeing, is that LX17 is getting really cooked on points per minute. And the true effect of this won't really kick in until the buildings flip over. So they have diverted a bit to the outside. And, you know, by the way, there are moments where I think we might sound a little critical of the teams and their choices, but like, it's easy for us to say when we have no gameplay obligations and we're just sitting here with perfect information and vision. It's much
Yeah.
harder to make these calls in the middle of the match, right? Like, I would know. I used to play Arc competitively, and it's like much easier to sit here and watch and have no, you know, obligations other than to spectate.
I always err towards the side of what LX17 did, which is you just see an obvious solution in front of you, and you're just like, I go for that obvious solution. Their obvious solution was, we just go to the Arc, we do a big escort of the Arc home, we get the 4,500 points, we win. It felt kind of good to me, but it's just this lingering, it's this slow death where not only did they lose their buildings, they can't take them back. They can't take these buildings back. So every single minute, they are now at this point losing 800 points per minute compared to
Brutal.
compared to 3310.
Brutal.
And after 6 minutes, that makes up for an entire arc, you know.
It's going to be problematic. We'll see.
They're trying to get back some of the buildings. They got back the Shrine of Life on the top side. It looks like they can probably get back this Desert Altar as well. They are going to get the Arc. They can return it in time. That'll give them like a 1k point lead. So LX17 essentially has like Time Warp. It's Time Warp from 3310.
And they used no mark.
And then no march. They were just waiting for the points, I guess.
I mean,
Look at the points per minute now. Like, just look at it. It's instant. It's instant. No march.
1,261 points per minute. Oh my God. That is disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had to mirror that play in LX17. I think LX17 had to do everything perfect to pull a win from the position they were in. And I think going mid early kind of cost them.
I don't think it had to be perfect. I just think it had to be significantly better than what they did.
Yeah.
It was a math game. It was really a math game where 3310 just kind of calculated it out and saw ahead of time, like, oh, you know, if we do this and this, we're gonna win at the 60-minute mark. At some point here, LX17 is gonna be very close to having the lead, but it's not gonna matter because in like the final 2 minutes, 3310 is just going to score so many more points with the buildings.
Bro, look at this hold. This hold is monster. Like, this 3310 hold is insane, isn't it?
Yeah, this lane, man. This was the same lane where that Gorgo held earlier.
Oh my God.
The Hera
These guys
YSS.
are reinforcing. This is impressive garrisoning right here. Right? This 36, this LX17 swarm is no joke. And they're filling through it from downfield, the other side of the map. That is impressive.
Yeah, this has been a really strong lane the whole game. For 3310, you see Whitey Smash in this lane. You see Big Max in this lane. That's two of their main officers. So, yeah, this is a good lane to be strong on from the red side. And, yeah, definitely the lane MVP in this match right here.
Wow. I mean, that is an impressive hold. And they've still got it, which is just nuts. That is really impressive. 1,000 points per minute here. Technically 1,014.
I would also say, though, some issues here with the rallies. Like, when is the last time we saw a rally on this building?
That's true.
I mean, the rally can come out every minute, you know?
That's true.
And it's pretty close. Like, maybe a bit of an ineffective attack here, maybe a bit of a desperation type of attack here from LX17. Because I just haven't seen a rally in a while.
That's true. The arc was scored, and those points per minute really made the difference. I really feel like it came down to that early run to middle. It could have been a different outcome for them, I think, if they had committed less to the middle. And look, it's a tough position to be in, right? Because, you know, you think, I have to get the arc in the middle. The enemy knows you have to get the arc. So they may just ignore you and go to the sides. So if you think the enemy is going to ignore you and go to the sides, then you go to the sides. Well, the enemy may say, okay, so they know that we know, so we should just go middle. And they go with everything. Like, you're in a very, very difficult mental spot. You only have bad choices when you are behind, right? And you just have to play risky and hope that you win all your dice rolls.
Yeah. Well, what risky was in that situation was basically you tell your players, stand at the Shrine of War, stand at the Desert Altar, wait at those buildings for about 3 minutes. If the enemy attacks, you defend. If the enemy doesn't attack, then you go mid, you get there late, right? Those marches that were heading mid, they had to wait at those buildings first and make sure that those buildings get held. Now, I'm not, because now at this point, we're looking at like a 3,000 point lead, so I'm not saying that would have made the difference, but that's, if you hold like those interior buildings, that's got to be like 500 points a minute.
I mean, they almost have all these buildings back that they lost. Almost. So, like, if they hadn't lost them and they got the arc, I mean, it's a lot needed to happen.
It's got to be like, but like, so like the altar is like 300 points a minute, right? And then the shrine is like 150 a minute.
Do we even get a report on this?
And that's without no march.
Oh, there it is. It flipped. I want this report.
Hurry, you got 20 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
You got 20 seconds.
3.3 to 8 mil.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez. Okay. Well, final provisioners kicking in here. Big provisions, by the way, in those final seconds. But it is, again, still in favor of 3310. Congratulations, both teams. Incredibly well played. Some tough calls had to be made. Very impressive opener, I would argue, from 3310 that in some ways led to a bit of a snowball. And they were able to, maybe snowball's not right. They just had a lead they could maintain. And there was a moment where I thought LX17 might actually like kind of come back in and take the W, but didn't happen. Really well played by all. Look at that, the provisions, by the way. Almost 5,000 points for 3310.
Big time provisions. Big time healing from both sides. 3310 has the ratio on total kills to severely woundeds. 3310, they stayed on the tracks the whole time. They just went forward in the same direction the whole game. LX17, they veered on and off the tracks a lot of highs and a lot of lows from LX17 in this match. They maybe could have pulled it out, but in the end, it was that train that kept moving forward that got the win.
Choo-choo. Anything you want to add as we wrap up today's casting?
That's it. Great match.
A great match. Thank you all for dropping by. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. A big thank you to the makers of Rise of Kingdoms. We're casting on the official channel and appreciate the opportunity to do so. It is our honor. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. We'll see you next time for more Ark of Osiris League gameplay.